With immense pleasure, I now invite Sri Govindarajulu Chintala Garu to address the convocation. Jai Hind.
Namaskaram, good morning and good day. Honorable Governor of Telangana and Chancellor of Professor Jaishankar Telangana State Agricultural University, Hyderabad, Tirumati Tamil Sai Soundararajan Garu, esteemed Vice Chancellor of the University, Dr. V. Praveen Rao Garu, Registrar, members of the Board of Management and Academic Council, teachers, degree recipients, students, staff members, representatives of electronic and print media, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to address the fourth convocation of the Professor Jaishankar Telangana State Agricultural University. I am very happy and proud to see that the university has distinguished itself as a premier institution in the field of science and technology in agriculture. I take this opportunity to congratulate the management, all the teachers and staff for their hard work, zealousness, dedication and commitment that has contributed to a significant achievement. On this momentous occasion of convocation, I deem it a privilege to share with you my journey which commenced from the very corridors of this great university, then Andhra Pradesh Agricultural University. I place on record my deep sense of gratitude to my alma mater, which equipped me with the knowledge and the requisite tools to serve my country in the best possible way. It's a wonderful feeling to come back and share my experiences back home with the next generation of students who are taking the degree students. I still vividly remember my graduation days when we were brimming with a dream and a burning desire to transform this world. Today, I can see the same in the eyes of many students who are sitting right here and also participating online. Though times have changed, the problems of agriculture have persisted, albeit with varied magnitudes and complexions. What has, however, favorably changed is technology and access to technology. Just to put into perspective, a scientific calculator then was equivalent to a supercomputer today. Not to be dragged into the past, the present day offers myriad opportunities to work on. We have a more globalized world today where exchange of ideas and data happens in a jiffy. One can broadcast an idea across the world in a nanosecond through social media. Information and communication technology is at our command. The economic status of most students here are much better than compared to the parents of our time. With all these positive things around, the world outside has a higher expectations from all of you, and I am sure, just like me, you too can work on them and meet their expectations. Today, we are living in very unusual times. The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted the world economy in unimaginable ways. The International Monetary Fund has projected the contraction of global output by 4.9% and India's GDP by as much as 4.5% in the year 2020-21. To regain the growth momentum, we need reimagining and fundamental reforms. One of the prescriptions for lifting the economy out of the slowdown is to put in place a strategy that leverages nation resources and agriculture sector is the silver lining of 2020. Here, I want to observe the presentation of Dr. Dr. Badri, who said that India is clear from the component on the partnership of the rural people and the funds for development. Never it was done like this during the pandemic period because beyond that the wisdom of rural people is really helping the entire organization. This pandemic has brought the indispensability of agriculture back to focus. I would add that comfortable food start into our last several decades to the soil of the entire agricultural community, which with farmers at the forefront is something that has made us more resilient in the context of famine. In this context, I would like to reiterate our Honorable PM's words on the 74th Independence Day. Quote, the idea of self-reliant India cannot be achieved without the contribution that farmers and agriculture sector makes, unquote. Self-reliant India means not only reducing imports, but also increasing our skills, our creativity. Enabling government policies amidst COVID-19. In the wake of COVID-19, the Government of India has unveiled a slew of measures aimed at reforming the agricultural sector and hand-holding the farming community. These reforms would help in the deregulation and liberalization of the agricultural sector and empower farmers to become a bigger and more stable participant in the journey of India's growth and development. Let me briefly highlight these reforms and their implications. The first one is the Agricultural Produce Market Committee reform. Many of you might have seen the ordinance passed in 2020 is going to herald a new revolution in the marketing of the agricultural produce. The next one is the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Ordinance in 2020. This is going to change and also bring a paradigm shift in the agri-business. The third one is the Essential Commodities Act, which was enacted in 1955 to suit the conditions of that time, but it is no more relevant. So this government had made a change, and now that is going to make a sea change in the way we store the produce, we market the produce. With these reforms in place, the farmers would now be able to sell their products anywhere and on their own terms. Now, I would like to just highlight about the Telangana. It's the rejuvenating Telangana, the way forward with specific reference to agriculture. I also belong to Hyderabad, so we all have liking for the state. Telangana is the country's youngest, but one of the fastest growing states. For the last 6 years, the average annual GSDP growth of Telangana at 7.98% is higher than the corresponding national GDP growth at 6.7%. And agriculture has been contributing 18% of GVA against 14% of the nation, of the state, but absorbing 55% of its workforce. So this is a very salient thing which everyone has to note. Consecutive drought, structural rigidities, yield plateauing, imbalance in use of fertilizer and nutrients, lack of advisory services, lack of technological interventions like ICT and IoT are some of the pressing issues faced by the agriculture sector. To overcome the structural rigidities in the sector and to make farming more remunerative, the government of Telangana launched schemes like Raitu Bandhu scheme, which has become a trendsetter for the whole nation. Raitu Bima scheme, farmers' life insurance, provision of high-quality inputs such as seeds, construction of irrigation projects, and revival of all tanks under Mission Kakatiya. Horticulture and animal husbandry has been identified as thrust areas by the Telangana government to make the sector vibrant. As a result, today Telangana stands in the third position in all India in terms of egg production, 5th in meat production, 10th in livestock population, and 13th in the milk production. The trend among is gross value added share of crops has been declining, whereas GVA share of livestock has been on the rise. This is a very progressive trend for increasing the doubling of the farmers' income. The agroclimatic conditions of Telangana offers enormous potential for horticultural crops. The government of Telangana has set up 2 centers of excellence for promoting high-quality vegetables and flowers at Jeedimetla and Mulugu in Medchal and Siddipet districts respectively through high-tech agricultural practices. More recently, Telangana government launched the Artificial Intelligence for Agriculture program in collaboration with the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, C4IR, which is working in close association with this esteemed university to identify high-impact cases of AI which would benefit the farmers. High-tech agriculture and high-value crops have a big place. In the face of stagnating agricultural production, fragmented land holding, and increasing population pressure, high-tech agricultural practices like soil-less agriculture, protected cultivation under greenhouse and polyhouse, Hydroponics, aeroponics, vertical farming, etc. necessitated to increase agricultural productivity. Given the changing consumption pattern, there is a tremendous scope for high-value crop cultivation in the state. High-value crop cultivation can be encouraged in the state are fruit and vegetable cultivation, cultivation of off-season and exotic vegetables under greenhouse for exports, asparagus, celery, bell pepper, sweet corn, green, lima beans, some examples. Floriculture, open and greenhouse production for domestic and export markets. Exclusive production of crops for processing or specific to user industry needs under contract farming arrangements. High-tech nursery units for fruit crops, vegetables, flowers, etc. is also one important thing. So cultivation of horticulture crops and high-yielding varieties coupled with micro-irrigation and popularizing high-density and ultra-high-density planting concepts, mulching and post-harvest practices have excellent potential to enhance farmers' income and can act as one of the means of doubling of farmers' income. I urge you to embrace technology and think out of box in order to take advantage of the changing dynamics in the consumption behavior. I appeal to you all, the young graduates, to adopt the vocal for local mantra. The next thing which I would like to dwell upon is the irrigation and water use efficiency. Unexpected events from social disruptions like the COVID-19 pandemic to extreme weather events like droughts and floods due to climate change highlight the need to bolster the resilience of our irrigation system to provide water in critical times. Telangana, being in the semi-arid zone, has historically been prone to drought conditions which would impact not only water resources but also have a cascading effect on other dependent sectors. Increased drought conditions can also severely affect agriculture and pastoral livelihoods and increase vulnerability and risks of farmers and people depending on such livelihoods. This calls for adoption of water efficient agricultural practices. The launching of Mission Kakatiya for renovation of tanks in the state to regain the area under tank irrigation and increase the amount of water available for irrigation has been another laudable effort. It is with pride I would like to mention NABARD support of this mission of the government of Telangana was there. The Kaleshwaram lift irrigation project, which has changed the face of Godavari basin in the state, and the drinking water supply program Mission Bhagirath are some of the other major projects funded by NABARD. It's a very proud moment for NABARD. Area-based programs like Watershed and Wadi. A key concern for most policymakers in NABARD and also the government of India and states has been the sustainability of tribal livelihoods. How do we engage with these vulnerable communities to ensure that they are brought within the development fold in a sustainable manner? Through the tribal development programs, which we popularly called as WADI, we at NABARD have been engaged in implementing participatory watershed programs for about 3 decades with an aim to reduce risk associated with dryland farming systems and livelihood in tribal inhabited areas through holistic development and productivity enhancement measures. The uniqueness of this program is people's participation in planning, implementation of the project, and monitoring as well as financial management through community-based organizations. Organically, all these are small farmer-oriented. Can we think of embracing such development approaches for a more inclusive and also expansive reach? Now, this is the one message for the young students. Then the next one important thing, the Indian system is now undergoing change is the collectivization. So the people's institutions and the collectivization are very important things that are happening in the landscape of the country. For a stronger society, we need vibrant grassroots institutions of people. Be they formal cooperative societies or informal self-help groups of women, social capital at the bottom of the pyramid is quintessential for rural solidarity and prosperity. For various reasons, the village level social fabric disintegrated over time, which is being revived of late through promotion of various local people's organizations. Self-help groups of women, pioneered and nurtured by NABARD over the last 2.5 decades, transformed social status of women in rural societies across the country and improved their living standards substantially. Several empirical studies amply proved and we got United Nations Award for spearheading this movement. Similar institutions are needed for rural producers too. For over 85% of farmers in the country being small and marginal face issues relating to scale of cultivation, high cultivation cost, access to affordable credit and market, thus leading to poor returns. Farmer producers organizations, now popularly called FPOs, have emerged as the panacea to the crisis, being new age organizations with the potential to address the challenges and small landholders related to scale and market access through collectivization and aggregation, thus ensuring better returns to farmers. Countries like China, Vietnam, Indonesia, to name a few, have accepted the FPO approach successfully. NABARD has embraced the FPO promotion as one of the priority areas. Until now, we have promoted close to around 4,000 FPOs. The FPO movement has made inroads in Telangana also, with 300 FPOs supported by NABARD having around 36,000 members engaged in various activities, right from input supply business, aggregation and marketing of produce to processing and valuation. To continue this FPO revolution, it is important to have trained pool of local talent to manage these FPOs on professional lines. Young, bright minds like you can contribute to national building by helping thriving FPOs. The scope is limitless, with entrepreneurism, technology-driven solutions, and creativity being the hallmark of the development, and EdTech being the cornerstone of progress through linking of these FPOs to the fastest developing agri-startup ecosystem. Climate-smart agriculture is also the future of farming. Rain-fed farming systems representing 54% of the net sown area in Telangana have become increasingly affected by recurring drought and high climatic variability, adversely affecting the livelihoods of small and marginal farmers in the state. To reorient agriculture under the realities of climate change, climate smart agriculture, CSA, is the only alternative. I am happy that Telangana State Action Plan for Climate Change has prioritized agriculture as one of the seriously impacted sectors due to high climatic variability and has adopted water use efficiency as a key adoption intervention. Government of Telangana, with the support of NABARD and the National Adaptation Fund for Climate Change, has implemented the two projects, Resilient Agricultural Households through Adaptation to Climate Change in Mahabubnagar district, Restoration of Degraded Landscape to Natural State of Ecosystem for Climate Resilience and Livelihood Improvement of Vulnerable Communities. I will come to one of the most important, the last part of my speech is regarding the agripreneurs and agri-startups. This is the harvest of hope. While entrepreneurship has been talked about since many years, agripreneurship is something which we started discussing only recently. Agripreneurship combines agriculture and entrepreneurship to tackle a number of challenges faced across the agricultural value chain by disrupting the agricultural system and innovative ideas and affordable solutions. These agri-startups have become the missing link between the farmers, input dealers, wholesalers, retailers, consumers, and connecting each of them to each other and providing strong market linkages and equally produce and quality produce on time. However, agripreneurs often face a disadvantage because of the lack of resources and land they have access to. Can young agri-graduates find a profitable future in agripreneurship? Can smallholder farmers become entrepreneurs? And will there be enough investment to transform agriculture into a viable enterprise? These are some of the questions I want you all to think over and act. Honorable Vice Chancellor had so many ideas which he had shared with me, and we tried to put forth in maybe some kind of a workable kind of arrangement in the days to come. Central as well as state governments have implemented multiple enabling policies to support agri-startups, their early takeoff and successful operations, etc. One such scheme is the Agri-Clinic and Agri-Business Scheme implemented by Manage in operation with NABARD. The scheme aims to supplement the efforts of public extension by providing professional extension and other services to the farmers, while simultaneously supporting agricultural development and creating gainful self-employment opportunities for unemployed agricultural graduates. To promote and nurture agripreneurs and startups, NABARD has set up and supported upscaling of 5 agri-business incubation centers, we call ABICs, at various agricultural universities across the country, with one of them present here in Hyderabad itself, AIDIA at NARM, National Academy of Agricultural Research and Management. These ABICs will facilitate the startups with necessary resources and business support services, marketing arrangements, as well as finance to transform them into viable commercial entities. A proposal from Professor Jaishankar University has been received at our level. We are examining, looking into the past performance of the previous centers, and we will come back to university as to how to go about with this kind of this review. I also have few other things here to say that there are few more things which we can do, as I was discussing with Honorable VC and also others. One is agripreneurs, that ABIC center will come maybe later, but at the same time, right now, maybe some of the incubating entrepreneurs can get training in the Center for Innovation, Incubation and Entrepreneurship at IIM Ahmedabad. NABARD can sponsor at least 10 candidates for their training purpose of this one in CIA. That we will do. Likewise, I am requesting Honorable VC and also other dignitaries that research and studies on contemporary topics which are relevant to the Telangana state can also be posted to NABARD. Under our Research and Development Fund, we will try to partner with the university. As I was telling that we need empirical data to prove that a proof of concept is valid. Then the next one is a very important thing many of you might have noticed, or I don't know whether really you have noticed it or not, so I will say that is the solar farming as a third crop. Many of you may remember the words of Prime Minister. In some point he told that solar farming as a third crop is the sure way of doubling the farmer's income. Now already under the PM Kusum scheme, where the agricultural feeder is going to be solarized totally, a scheme is being implemented by Government of India to say that solar panels raised and set up on high masts, or maybe the steels, maybe at around 8 feet or 10 feet, and subsequently covered, connected to the grid, are going to create power, and at the same time they will not give any kind of a shade to the field, so that the farmer can cultivate the crop like the windmills. If you have seen somewhere, that windmills are there in the fields, but at the same time the farmers will do the cultivation also along with that one. So the solar farming, I request Agriculture University of Telangana to experiment at least on 1 acre to prove that the income generated out of the solar farming put on the high steels or masts will be a real game changer in that agricultural income scenario of the farmers. So we will give assistance to the university by way of grant to do this one in a limited way, generate data so that this will become a kind of a scope for the entire country to replicate. Then we have a few other things also which we can do with the university, so that also we will negotiate with the university as to how we can go ahead in future. So after the initial funding has dried up, now I will just again come back to that startup thing. Startups have got a very peculiar life cycle. They start with an idea, run for some time with angel fund, and afterwards they will go into a kind of a drying up. So after the initial funding has dried up, startups enter a stage called death valley, where there is a high probability that a startup will wind up due to lack of steady revenue and scarce additional funding, leaving the startup vulnerable to cash flow requirements. To support the agri startups entering the death valley phase, NABARD has set up catalytic capital fund of 100 crores for supporting such rural agri startups. NABARD has also set up NAB Ventures with a 500 crore fund, a wholly owned subsidiary which through venture growth equity funds invest in early to mid-stage startups in agriculture, food-based businesses and rural financial services to boost the investment ecosystem in the core areas of agriculture, food, and rural livelihoods. This is the only dedicated fund in the entire country in the startup space which is dedicated to agriculture. I would like to conclude my address with an appeal to all the bright young minds assembled here today and also online. President Kalam had a dream to see India as a developed nation. We too should have a dream of a nation where every farmer's family goes to sleep at night happy, satisfied, and contented. This pandemic has made us once again sit up and take notice of the God's angst amongst us, that is the farmer. A happy farmer is the root to a healthy civilization. Healthy citizens are the pillars of a prosperous nation. And with prosperity, India can earn developed nation status. This is my dream, this is Nabad's dream, as well as others' dream. And today, I want each one of you to make it your dream as well. If all of us work in tandem to achieve it, India will become a superpower built upon the foundation of agriculture and rural prosperity. Jai Hind, Jai Kisan, Jai Jawan, Jai Vigyan. Thank you all.
On the recommendation of the Academic Council, Board of Management of Professor Jayashankar, Telangana State Agricultural University, and with the approval of the Honorable Chancellor, I consider it as a unique prerogative to recommend Sri Chintala for the award of Doctor of Science honoris causa, to which I pray he may be admitted. Do I have the permission to present the degree of science honoris causa to the awardee?
Yes, it's permitted.
Thank you, Madam.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And it's a really proud moment for me for having got awarded with honoris causa. And from now onwards, I will dedicate myself even much more than what I'm doing. Thank you.